In the game of power, the loudest moves are rarely the most decisive. History teaches us that the strategies that truly change the course of nations are often crafted in silence, away from the public stage, in rooms where the media has no cameras and the world's attention is fixed on something else. This is because true influence is not about making noise. It's about making moves that others don't even realize are being made until it's too late. When a nation works quietly, it is free from external pressure, free from the constant analysis and criticism that can derail bold ideas. It can test, refine, and prepare without interference. By the time the rest of the world notices, the foundation is already in place, and the momentum is unstoppable. Think of it like planting seeds under the soil. No one sees the roots growing, but one day the tree is there, strong and impossible to ignore. India's rise in the digital and cyber domain reflects exactly this kind of silent strategy. While other countries were distracted by trade disputes, political dramas, or short-term gains, India was building something more enduring, a hidden web of cyber alliances, technical capabilities, and digital infrastructure. It did not need to announce every step because the real value lay in the results, not the headlines. The world often rewards the visible, grand speeches, big declarations, public commitments. But in geopolitics, the rewards go to those who prepare out of sight. This is why quiet strategies are feared the most. They give no warning, no sign of their full scope until the moment they reveal themselves. By the time the spotlight turns toward them, it is not the beginning, it is the unveiling of a plan that has already matured. This is how influence is built to last, not through the noise of daily news cycles, but through the patience of silent preparation. And as the world will soon see, those who control the unseen layers of technology and alliances will be the ones who control the future. Every century has its driving force. In the past, power was built on land, gold, and armies. Later, it shifted to oil, factories, and heavy industries. But in the 21st century, the equation has changed. The currency of power is no longer buried under the ground. It flows through invisible networks, data, artificial intelligence, and cyber capabilities. India saw this shift earlier than many expected. While some nations clung to the hope that fossil fuels or traditional industries would keep them competitive, India invested its attention and resources into the digital domain. It understood that data is the new oil, but unlike oil, its value multiplies when shared, analyzed, and transformed through AI. In the new global order, the nations that control the flow, processing, and protection of data will set the rules for everyone else. This recognition didn't come by accident. India's rapid growth in its tech sector, its massive pool of young, skilled talent, and its thriving startup culture created the perfect environment for embracing the future early. Instead of merely supplying IT services, India began developing its own innovations in AI, cybersecurity, and cloud infrastructure, laying the groundwork for digital independence. Meanwhile, countries still dependent on oil exports or outdated manufacturing models found themselves slowly losing ground. Their resources may still matter, but they no longer define global leadership. The world's fastest growing economies are now those that master digital ecosystems, building platforms, securing networks, and creating AI models that serve billions. India's early move into this space is not just about technology, it's about positioning. Whoever leads in AI will influence healthcare, education, finance, defense, and even agriculture. Whoever masters cybersecurity will decide which nations are safe and which are vulnerable. And whoever controls the flow of data will quietly shape the decisions of governments, corporations, and societies. By seeing this transformation before it became obvious, India didn't just join the race, it positioned itself at the front. In a world where oil wells will eventually run dry, but data streams will only grow, India has chosen to build its future on resources that will never run out. That foresight is now becoming its greatest competitive advantage. In geopolitics, noise often becomes a distraction. The West spent years locked in public debates over technology regulations, privacy concerns, cyber ethics, and the competitive risks of artificial intelligence. These discussions were important, but they also slowed decision-making. Every move had to pass through endless layers of political theater, media scrutiny, and competing interest groups. India took a different route. It chose to listen more than it spoke, act more than it announced. While the West was arguing over rules, India was quietly forming relationships, not only with governments, but also with private companies, research institutions, and cutting-edge innovators around the world. It recognized that the most transformative partnerships are not necessarily the ones signed at high-profile summits, but the ones built in quiet trust between key players who share the same vision for the future. These silent alliances gave India something invaluable: access to talent, technology, and markets without the delays of public spectacle. For example, collaborations in cybersecurity allowed Indian firms to work alongside global leaders in threat intelligence, sharing real-time data on cyber risks. Agreements with AI research hubs brought in knowledge and resources that helped accelerate India's machine learning capabilities. Joint ventures with tech startups in emerging markets created a network of innovation that could scale quickly. By avoiding the spotlight, India also avoided resistance. Competitors were less likely to interfere because they didn't fully see what was happening. The partnerships grew organically, protected from political rivalries and economic pressures. And as they deepened, they formed a web of digital cooperation so interconnected that no single country could easily untangle it. When the West finally realized the depth of India's network, it was no longer in its infancy. It was mature, resilient, and too valuable to dismantle. These alliances now give India leverage, not just in technology, but in global negotiations. It can call on partners across continents in both developed and developing nations who have a vested interest in India's continued rise. In the digital age, power does not only come from what you own, but from who you stand with. By choosing silent partnership over loud posturing, India positioned itself at the center of a global digital alliance, one that grows stronger while others are still arguing. When most people hear the term cyber alliance, they immediately think of hacking, digital espionage, or defending against cyber attacks. While defense is a critical part of the equation, it is only the surface. The deeper truth is that cyber alliances are about building and controlling the very foundations of tomorrow's economy and governance. In the 20th century, infrastructure meant roads, railways, power plants, and factories. Today, it means something far less visible but infinitely more powerful: data centers, AI networks, and quantum computing systems. These are the invisible highways, factories, and power stations of the digital age. Whoever owns, operates, or influences them will not just have economic advantage, they will have strategic dominance. India understands this better than most. By forging cyber alliances, it is ensuring that it has a voice and often a leading role in shaping the standards, protocols, and technologies that will govern the next century. These partnerships go beyond simple cooperation. They involve sharing advanced research in artificial intelligence, developing quantum encryption methods that could one day replace all existing cybersecurity models, and building interconnected data ecosystems, EMs, that span continents. Such alliances also create mutual dependence. When countries and companies integrate their systems with India's digital infrastructure, they become stakeholders in its success. This is not just about selling services, it's about embedding India into the operational core of other nations' digital futures. The more interconnected these systems are, the harder it becomes for rivals to isolate or pressure India without harming themselves. Quantum computing, for instance, is not just a technology upgrade. It's a complete reset of how computation and encryption work. Whoever leads in this field will be able to solve problems once thought impossible and potentially break today's strongest security codes. By aligning with key global players in this space, India is ensuring it will be among the decision makers, not the bystanders. This is why cyber alliances are feared by those left out of them. They are not military pacts in the traditional sense, but they hold the power to decide who thrives and who falls behind in the new digital order. For India, controlling this infrastructure means controlling a significant part of the world's future. In traditional geopolitics, size often dictated power. Larger armies, bigger economies, and vast natural resources were considered the ultimate advantages. But in the cyber domain, the rules have changed. Here, speed is more valuable than size. The ability to identify a threat, adapt to a new technology, or seize an opportunity in real time is worth more than having the largest infrastructure or the biggest budget. India's advantage lies in its agility. While many global powers are slowed by rigid bureaucracies, outdated systems, and layers of decision-making, India's tech ecosystem is built on adaptability. Its thriving startup culture, youthful talent pool, and decentralized innovation hubs mean that new solutions can be developed and deployed in weeks, not years. In cyber warfare and digital competition, this speed is everything. Threats evolve daily. A cyber vulnerability today may be exploited tomorrow. In such an environment, the ability to respond instantly is far more valuable than having a massive but sluggish system that takes months to react. India's technology companies, research labs, and government initiatives often operate in close collaboration, allowing for rapid information sharing and joint problem solving. This fluid structure makes it possible to experiment quickly, discard what doesn't work, and scale up what does. For example, when global cybersecurity threats emerged targeting critical infrastructure, Indian teams were able to develop and implement protective measures faster than many older, more established economies. This wasn't because India had more resources. It was because it had fewer bureaucratic delays. Decisions could be made at the speed of innovation, not at the pace of political compromise. This same agility extends beyond defense. In AI research, fintech, and cloud computing, India's ability to quickly pivot toward emerging trends allows it to stay ahead of slower-moving competitors. In the digital age, winning is less about being the biggest and more about being the first. And staying first requires constant adaptation. Global powers with large traditional systems often underestimate this advantage. But in the cyber arena, where change is measured in days rather than decades, India's speed is not just a strength, it is a form of domina. As influence is often mistaken for control, nations think they are powerful when they can pressure others into action, but real power is far more subtle. It's when others cannot function without you. It's when your absence would cause disruption, when your expertise, systems, or resources have become so integrated into their operations that they cannot afford to lose you. This is exactly the position India has been quietly building in the digital and cyber world. Over the past 2 decades, it has become the go-to source for skilled cybersecurity talent, trusted data management, and resilient digital infrastructure. Whether it's defending financial systems from hacking, protecting sensitive government databases, or ensuring global corporations stay online, Indian expertise is often at the heart of the solution. Multinational companies host critical operations in India not just because it's cost-effective, but because the talent pool is unmatched in both scale and skill. From advanced threat detection to AI-driven security systems, Indian teams are shaping how cyber defense is done globally. Governments too turn to India, sometimes openly, sometimes quietly, for cooperation on intelligence, encryption, and crisis response. This creates a unique form of soft power. When multiple economies depend on your people, your technology, and your infrastructure, they become stakeholders in your stability and growth. Any disruption to India's digital systems would ripple far beyond its borders, affecting global markets, supply chains, and even national security for other countries. That's influence without coercion. And it's not just about today. India is embedding itself into the digital futures of its partners by providing secure cloud services, building shared AI models, and integrating with international data networks. It is making sure that reliance grows deeper over time. Each project, each collaboration is another thread in a web that is almost impossible to untangle. The result is a form of strategic security. Nations that rely on India will think twice before opposing it in critical matters. They will see cooperation not as charity, but as mutual survival. In a world where cyber threats can cripple economies overnight, having India as a trusted ally is no longer optional. It's essential. In the physical world, walls are obvious. You can see their height, their thickness, and the guards who protect them. In the cyber world, the strongest walls are invisible. There is no stone, no steel, no barbed wire, only layers of encryption, firewalls, artificial intelligence, and constantly evolving code. You don't notice them being built. You only notice when you try to get past them and fail. India has been quietly constructing such walls for years. These are not just defenses for its own government and businesses, but barriers that protect the digital infrastructure of other nations and corporations as well. From financial systems and health records to defense communications and AI databases, these digital fortresses safeguard some of the most valuable assets in the modern world. Unlike physical walls, a cyber wall can change shape in real time. It can adapt to threats the moment they appear, sealing vulnerabilities before attackers can exploit them. India's cybersecurity teams have mastered this art, combining human expertise with AI-driven monitoring systems that scan millions of potential breach points every second. These walls are also strategic by being at the center artery. This self-reliance changes the balance of power. The West cannot simply cut off supply lines or impose technology bans to pressure India, because much of India's digital ecosystem is homegrown, and much of its cyber strength is tied to partners outside the traditional Western sphere. These partners, in turn, benefit from India's expertise and infrastructure, creating a web of mutual interest that strengthens over time. The fear comes from unpredictability. The West is used to dealing with nations whose technological dependencies make their behavior predictable. But a self-reliant India, backed by a diverse range of cyber alliances, can make decisions based on its own strategic interests rather than external pressure. That means it can act in ways that may challenge the existing global order, and the West cannot stop it without risking damage to its own digital security. In this new reality, control is no longer about military bases or trade routes. It's about access to the algorithms, encryption keys, and data flows that run the world. India's refusal to be a passive consumer of Western technology and its choice to become a creator, protector, and exporter of it puts it outside the traditional sphere of influence. That is why the West watches closely. They know that once a nation escapes control in the cyber era, it can never truly be brought back. In strategy, whether in business, war, or geopolitics, timing is everything. The strongest positions are built long before a crisis appears. The nations that wait until a threat is visible often find themselves scrambling for allies and resources, entering negotiations from a position of weakness. The smartest nations, on the other hand, prepare in advance, building relationships and agreements that ensure they are never caught alone when the storm comes. India has applied this principle to the cyber domain with When a threat arises, Whether it's a state-sponsored cyber attack, a coordinated disinformation campaign, or a global tech disruption, India's network can be activated instantly. Partners benefit from collective defense, shared intelligence, and the ability to respond as a united front. This makes the cost of targeting India much higher for any adversary, as they would be facing not one nation, but an interconnected alliance. The brilliance of this strategy lies in its foresight. By the time others realize the need for such partnerships, India's web is already in place. Too deep to dismantle, too valuable to abandon. In the world of cyber power, that is the ultimate insurance policy. For centuries, wars were fought with swords, muskets, and cannons. Then came tanks, aircraft, and missiles. In each era, the tools of conflict evolved, but the principle was the same. Physical force decided outcomes. Today, that reality is changing. The next major conflicts may not begin with armies crossing borders or bombs falling from the sky. They may begin silently with lines of code and algorithms quietly disabling economies, sabotaging infrastructure, or manipulating public opinion before a single shot is fired. In this new battleground, the most powerful weapon is information and the ability to control, defend, and deploy it at will. Algorithms can now do what entire military divisions once could: disrupt supply chains, cripple communications, shut down power grids, or destabilize financial markets. The players in these conflicts are not only nation states, but also private companies, hacktivist groups, and AI systems capable of acting autonomously. India understands this reality, and it has been preparing for it. By investing in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced cybersecurity, it has positioned itself on the front lines of the digital battlefield. The world is entering an age where the lines between peace and conflict, competition and cooperation will blur. The winners will not be those who shout the loudest or spend the most, but those who prepare the longest, think the deepest, and move the fastest. India's hidden cyber alliances are not just a shield, they are a statement. A statement that in the 21st century, power belongs to those who control the unseen, who shape the rules before the game is played, and who can stand independent in a world of dependencies. The West may fear what it cannot control, but fear is simply the recognition of strength. And strength in this new era will belong to those who understand that the next great battles will not be fought over land, oil, or borders, but over information, trust, and technology. India has chosen its ground. It is building its networks, securing its systems, and positioning itself not on the sidelines, but at the heart of the future. The cyber frontier is where the destiny of nations will be decided. And when that moment comes, the world will find India already standing at the front, ready,